오일샌드로 잘 알려진 이곳 포트 맥머리 시민들은 세계 각국에서 일하기 위해 모여들었습니다. 대중매체는 시시각각으로 이곳 시민들을 비평하지만 수많은 사람들은 수많은 다른 이야기들을 가지고 있답니다. 지금부터 저희가 준비한 몇몇 이야기들을 들려드리겠습니다.
I like small cities or small communities because I've grown up in a small province back in the Philippines, and I'm a provincial kind of boy, so I like it here. The first time I came to Fort McMurray, I always saw it as a bustling city. There's always traffic going to the sites and going downtown, and it was the onset of the, what do you call this? The recession, and the companies were laying off like people and putting a lot of them into the camps, and a lot of the workers didn't like the idea, so they just um, they just went back to wherever they lived, like in Edmonton or all over Canada, and because it was really quiet, there was no traffic going into the city and into the sites, and my dad and I would usually go out for dinner and go shopping, and one time we went to Canadian Tire, and Canadian Tire is always full of people, and it was like a ghost town in there during that time. And I'm really glad that we're back to how we were.
The project that I was involved with, I had an invitation from a local First Nation to camp out with them and to document with them their land uses, their traditional land uses. So the objective was that the elders would tour through the forest, and whenever they came upon features of interest on the landscape, they would pause and tell us the story about that feature and why it was important to them. And I was very rudely approached by one of the elders, and she said to me, "I've heard who you are. I've heard you come from an oil sands company, and I don't like you." Well, wouldn't you know it, her and I were paired up together for 7 days of walking through the woods, capturing these notes and capturing these locations of traditional land use, and spending every evening together talking about what each of us do day to day. And it was in those talks that I got to learn more about how much she valued the land, and she got to learn more about what my company and the folks I work with do for land reclamation. And I think it was only through those discussions that we actually began to heal some of the initial trepidation and maybe a bit of anger as well. And we ended the week, she approached me and she said, "I was wrong on day one, and knowing what I know today and knowing what you've learned from me, I feel like the reclamation at your company will be in a much better place."
I think it was the early 90s. There was a huge fire south of here, and in fact it closed the highway for days on end. In the end they started running short of some of the essential supplies, so they actually were flying in perishables like milk and stuff like that. They had plans for maybe evacuating out to the plants where they've got huge clear spaces and so the forest fire wouldn't obviously burn, within that. But yeah, it was quite the event, and I must admit my family back in England, my brothers and sisters, my mum at the time, were all sort of watching the news because it was over there too. But anyway, yeah, so that was probably unique to a place like this. It has changed enormously since I came. It's tripled in size, but I like the place. I like the speed of life here. I love the summers here. The trouble is the summers are so short. But anyway, that's okay.
Well, I recorded my first studio album with my band Holocaust in Fort McMurray in a friend's basement studio that he had set up. If you want to buy it, you should. www.holocaustmusic.com. Check it out. So yeah, basically, it's just really cool how someone in kind of an isolated northern town, northern Alberta, can communicate with the music industry all over the world. Like, we got our album mixed and mastered by Jens Bogren in Sweden, and our artwork done by Travis Smith in California. And it's really cool how someone so small can really get a big production from big names all over the world just by email and word of mouth. Gonna maybe go off somewhere else after high school's all finished with, but who knows? Might even come back one day. It's a good place to live. Good sense of community.
Well, yeah, with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, we do the rubber duck race, where they have 2,000 ducks and they dump them in the river. And collecting ducks out of the river is not as easy as it seems. And the first year doing it, the net had broke, so everybody was jumping into the river and throwing these ducks to shores. And I thought front page of the paper should be Big Brothers and Big Sisters saved thousands of ducks, opposed to the negative image that we always get of killing them, right? So that's a lot of fun. And then this year we had a double net set up and no ducks were going to escape, and sure enough they broke through both sets and started sailing off down the river. So they're probably in Fort Chippewan by now.
I was terrified to talk to people, and so it was very hard. And so I lived in an apartment downtown, and my first experience was with another person. It happened, I came out of my apartment, and I always checked if somebody was in the hallway or not. And so I listened and I looked, and if nobody was in the hallway, I could go to the laundry room to do my laundry. So no sound at all in the hallway, or I didn't see anybody. So I thought, okay, that's a good time. I can run to the laundry room and put my laundry in and run back to the apartment to avoid people. So I took my laundry and I ran to the laundry room, and I walked in the laundry room and there was a lady. And I was just shocked because I was scared, now I can't speak English. This lady got up and she said, "No English, no English." Oh my, so what will I do? And so what I found out later, she spoke Spanish. She couldn't speak English. I couldn't speak English. I couldn't speak Spanish. So I got my dictionary, German, English, and she got her dictionary, English, Spanish. When I want to say something to her, I looked it up in my dictionary. I looked the German word up. I showed it to her in English, and then she looked in her book what it said in English, and then she knew what it meant in Spanish. And that's how we talk.
When I first arrived here in 1985, it was the May of 1985. I was here for about a week or a couple of weeks. And I decided that I'd like to order some chicken wings for supper. Keeping in mind I lived in Toronto. And so I looked in the phone book for a place that delivered food, A, and B, a place that would have chicken wings. So there was only one place in the phone book that said they served chicken. So I phoned the place up, and the conversation went very similar to this. I'd like to place an order for delivery, please. Sure, what would you like? I'd like to order maybe a dozen chicken wings. There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and the gentleman said, "Why do you want wings? That's the worst part of the chicken." So I explained to him about chicken wings. There's buffalo wings and barbecue wings and so on. He said to me, "You sure you want just the wings?" I said, "Yeah, that would be great. Can I have about 12? Another long pause in which he responded, "Well, that means I have to cut the wings off of 6 chickens." So I said to him, "So do you have chicken wings?" "No, not really." I said, "Okay, just give me a quarter chicken then with some fries, and that will be it." So that was Fort McMurray 25 years ago. There was very few restaurants. No chicken wings, obviously. So that was one of the things that really distinguished me between Fort McMurray and the place that I came from. Was there were no chicken wings. No, actually, I wasn't unhappy here in Fort McMurray, but by the time that I had left after 18 years, I felt that I needed a new adventure. I came to Fort McMurray for a new adventure, and after 18 years, I felt it was time for another new adventure.
Oh, didn't see you there.
Oh, look at that.
Thanks for watching our show.
Thanks for
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching our show.
It's a great job.
You can see that. Yeah, say it in Korean.
Okay, say it 감사합니다 to thank you. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Okay, 감사합니다. Okay.
감사합니다.
합니다.
합니다.
There you go.
감사합니다.
감사합니다. Yeah.